I told you I found you a perfect match. Chosen by science, but you had to marry them right this second. You would tell me, well, that sounds pretty whack. And I would add, you have 8 weeks to know if you really love them. You just got married at first sight. Jason and Aysha gonna tell you wrong from right. Are all these couples just disasters waiting to happen? Imagine if one of them could be a perfect match.
Hello and welcome to A Perfect Match, where we talk about the lovely show, Married at First Sight. I'm one of your co-hosts, Aysha Welch, and today I have with me, as usual, my co-host who told me right before this podcast that he would never buy me a house. So we're kind of starting off on a bad foot, but Jason Reed. Jason, how are you?
Hey, I'm pretty good. Just just living my life. You know what I mean?
Can you at least wait until you're done eating?
I'm covering my mouth.
I can hear it. I can hear all of it.
My bad. Listen, Aysha, I hate to get crazy with you tonight, okay? You better calm down.
I know you don't want to talk about it, but I do. So we're going to talk about it.
Aysha, happy to be here with you today. Married at First Sight. We're back at it. This episode. This was a letter episode. A lot of letters.
Yeah.
We even had people have extra bonus letters read.
Right. Letters on letters on letters. Yeah, they were letters were in abundance this episode, I will say.
Not everybody got letters though. We only had 2 couples get letters, I think.
Yeah.
But one of the people in the couple got an extra letter.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we're here to talk about episode 13 of season 16. We are in the home stretch.
We're getting there.
Yeah, right. This one was a tough one to get through.
It was. Like I said, a lot of letters, and usually the letters are, slog to get through sometimes. And it just felt like feels like we're, I don't want to say a rut, maybe I should say a groove. And some people that have been the same way have stayed the same way. So nothing has really progressed. So we're kind of in the dog days of the season, really. But I'm still entertained. We're still gonna entertain you guys. That's what you're here for. We're gonna make it fun. We're gonna make it light. We're gonna make it bright. I just made that up on my own.
All right.
Yeah. Copyright.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much for joining us here today as we break this all down. I mean, very excited to just at least break it down. I think I'll start to see the episode in a better light as we talk through it.
For sure.
That always happens. We find the most enjoyable things to linger on. But if you didn't know, we are on YouTube. So make sure that if you wanted to see us and get some FaceTime, go to the RHAP Has a Podcast YouTube channel, and we are right here for your enjoyment. But also make sure you go subscribe to our Love at First Sight feed. That's where you can get all of our podcasts for A Perfect Match, as well as Love is Blind, which is back with season 4. Mary Kukowski and I covered episodes 1 through 5. So that is out there for your viewing and listening enjoyment as well. You're caught up.
You don't have to put your affair in my face. How rude.
Hey, you may or may not know, but I decided to go talk to your other co-host, Marissa Garza, about you this week, and we had a great time.
Sneaking behind my back, seeing my other podcast co-host. That's fine. I'm
like, this is great.
Something is missing. Something that's like really annoying is just all of a sudden out of my podcast space, and it's me and Marissa having fun. Yeah. Okay, I get it. I understand. I get it.
Exactly. But yeah, make sure you go subscribe. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. We would really appreciate it. We had been on in a drought, but this week we want to highlight a couple or a few.
I threatened last week to sing "Where Is the Love" by Black Eyed Peas, and you guys did not want to hear my singing voice. which you shouldn't. So you sent in a bunch of reviews. So I'm not sure if I should be, happy or if I should be offended. I don't know.
Well, this one's very relevant to what you just said. It's from CFan16. It's titled, "Where is the Love?" It says, "This podcast is great for finding the love, not within a MAFS episode, but with an occasional throwback to an awesome Black Eyed Peas song. On a serious note, I look forward to this podcast every Friday, and Jason and Aysha are amazing hosts." Thank you so much,
Thank you so much.
I
Love
really,
that.
really appreciate it. I'll also highlight another one, which you're going to highlight some Canadian ones, but this one is titled Canadian Champion. So,
Ooh.
yeah, it's titled A Great MAFS Recap Show. It says, "I discovered this podcast when searching for a MAFS recap podcast and was not disappointed. I truly enjoy listening to Jason and Aysha's fun and witty breakdown of the show each week. It's clear these hosts have a real friendship and authentic rapport, and they are just as entertaining as they disagree as when they agree. Thanks so much for making me laugh each week as you talk about my favorite reality indulgence." Thank you, Canadian Champion.
Real friendship. Okay.
We play it up well.
You say so.
No, I looked at our text thread and I had all these today. Jason was like, "I'm not going to respond to Aysha." And I was just
Oh my
like,
gosh.
"Where is he?"
OMG. It was like 30 minutes and I didn't respond. Jeez.
Whatever. What do you want to highlight?
Like you mentioned, I'm going to be highlighting a couple of reviews from the Great North, Canada. Oh, Canada! Yeah, I'm not going to sing. I promise you guys, I wouldn't sing.
Copyright.
Copyright. So let's see. The first one here is titled "Look Forward to This Podcast Every Week" by Legros. Loving Aysha and Jason as the host. Love this podcast. It is very insightful as well as funny. The guests are very entertaining as well. I look forward to this podcast every week. I'm very glad you podcast weekly now. Keep up the good work. I feel like you podcasted weekly before. I don't know.
Well, it's been a few seasons. Maybe it's all a blur.
Could be.
Yeah.
Next one, entitled "Fun Podcast" by Pop Nerd. Aysha and Jason are wonderful. I love how thoroughly they explore the episodes of the show and that the episodes are long and comprehensive. I enjoy their sibling-esque dynamic, and their guests are always great too. I especially enjoy Sarah. Shout out to Doc. Thank you, Jason and Aysha, for all the work you do on the podcast. Oh, thank you so much, Pop Nerd.
Thank you so much. Sibling-esque.
Sibling-esque.
I like that.
Yeah, hey.
It has the flair to it.
Yeah, you're the sister I never wanted. Anyway. We have a few more. We're going to save those for another day in case we hit another drought. We'll hit more next week.
Yes. So keep them coming. We really appreciate when we can hear y'all's feedback.
Maybe I'll threaten to sing my humps next episode if we don't get any more reviews.
Right. And we don't need that.
No, no one does.
We do also have a great time over in our Facebook group. If you go on Facebook and you look up A Perfect Match Podcast, you will see us. You will find us. So we have a great time in there talking about the episodes, talking about TikToks that have appeared, anything going on across social media.
And there's crossover. There's Bachelor talk in there. There's Love Is Blind talk in there, much to my chagrin.
As if you don't watch. It's great. It's become like MAFS is what brought us together, but we have things we can branch off to. Yeah.
The reveal that Kwame from Love Is Blind applied on Married at First Sight was caught in a shot from the DC season of the whole thing they used to do where they used to have people like stream into a ballroom, all the applicants, and Kwame from Love Is Blind was caught in the background of one of the shots. So he's been trying to do this reality show marriage thing for a minute now. That was the DC season, which was like a few years ago.
Exactly. Hey, shout out to our official social media correspondent, T, who's always bringing us the great social media content.
The great T is always bringing tea.
Right. But yes, if you do want to join the Facebook group this week, the Facebook password should be what?
Let's see. We didn't talk about this pre-show. What we got? We got some painting going on. We had some Nerf bow and arrows happening.
Buy me a house.
Buy me a house. Provide me a house. The ultimate provider.
Put a down payment on a house for me, please.
That's a little wordy. A little wordy. Trying to think. Riveting audio.
Right. Size 9.5 feet.
Water ski feet. How about that?
Okay, water ski feet. That is the password for this week. So if you go search a Perfect Match podcast, put in the password, agree to the group rules, and we'll let you in. All right, let's get started with this episode. I think we should start with a couple we haven't started with in a while because nothing is ever going on with them.
Nothing's ever happening.
Yeah.
Let's get them out of the way.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get Gina and Clint out the way. So this is the episode where they are taking a trip to each other's past and childhoods and kind of exploring their past and, for them to learn about each other. So
I think they should do this a lot sooner than they've been doing it. I think it should be like a first half of the process activity.
Yeah, definitely. I would say definitely before the intimacy stuff.
Yeah, not the week before, like right before the intimacy stuff. Like, let's do it like within the first couple of weeks, so you can get a good background, a good, a good foundation of the person that you just married. Because I think a lot of people had a lot of realizations. This episode from their spouse's past. I think if we did this a little closer to the front of the experiment, things would go a little better, maybe.
Exactly, because they reach this point and they're like, I really understand this person better.
They're like that explains it. That okay, I see the connections. Right. People can't just say things unprompted. We have to have activities and prompts to get these people to spill their guts, apparently.
Yeah, definitely within the first month feels more appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
We've already had our 1 month anniversary. So
yes,
1 month anniversary. So he brings her to a field. He has a soccer ball. So I was like, is this like a soccer field? He wants to share a little bit. This is Clint wants to share a little bit about why he's the way he is. He explains how when he was 9 years old, he had a size 9 to 9.5 foot.
Listen, props to Clint for not going, you know what that means, big feet. You know. I don't have to tell you, Gina, what that means.
I'm glad he kept it appropriate because he is talking about his 9-year-old self.
I wouldn't put it past Clint.
So he talks about how, growing up, he used to have to work so hard to just get where the other kids started. And what else did you get from this? Like, that was about his sports past.
I mean, Clint starts things out. He's like, I really want to show her like how my life was. To teach her some of the lessons I learned in life. Like, he starts it like as like a motivational speech or something. I'm like, okay, let's calm it down a little bit, Clint. But he's just like, yeah, he was such an underdog and he rose above the challenges of the daunting. And Gina's just like, cool story, yeah,
right. Clearly, I was that way too, because I was just trying to find the point, get the gist.
I think he just wants to show her how hard he has worked, how persistent he is. I think the big lesson was about persistence, maybe relating to their marriage and being persistent and making it work. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, it seems like she picked up on that because we got a confessional from her. She felt like they share the same mentality of like not giving up on things. And she does find that attractive.
I don't know, Gina. It seems like you gave up like week 1.
She finds that quality. Like if you put the quality up in the air, that is attractive. But connected to Clint,
make it clear. I find the quality attractive, not the man attractive. Okay, so make it like, crystal clear.
We're just gonna edit that part out.
Yeah. We're gonna Frankenbite and say that you said he was attractive. How about that? We want to give these people hope that you're actually going to work out.
She said, "Don't get it twisted."
And I think this marriage could work. We'll just put all those together and just make it seem like you said it in one foul swoop.
Exactly. So for her trip, she takes him to her hair school.
Is anyone shocked? Anyone shocked that it has to do with her profession? Every single thing in this episode from her had to do with her profession.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like that just really shows us where she is in life, where she is married to her career.
So she shouldn't be. I mean, not that she shouldn't be married to someone else, but she shouldn't be married to a stranger.
Not in this way.
That she can't find the time to get to know.
It would be different had she been, let's say she knew someone back in the day, and right now she's married to her career, but she also wants a partner right now. Then it's like, okay, there was a foundation at some point. Yeah. There's a certain amount of effort that goes into marrying a stranger because you really have to get to know them. You really have to break down some barriers. She doesn't have time for that right now.
I would say it takes a huge amount of effort to marry a stranger and get to know them, all while shooting a TV show and while like getting your new business started. So, I mean, as we have said before, this was not a great time for Gina, but you know, Mass doesn't come to Nashville every day, so she had to take the opportunity when it got there.
Right, and I'm not trying to say she can't be a boss and have love. Definitely feasible when you know how, like when you can prioritize and have that balance.
Yeah, all of it at once is just very tough.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been different. I think it could have made a huge difference had it been after she started her brick and mortar. You know, just I feel like it was, with timing, but not to say had it been, 6 months later, her and Clint would have worked out.
Oh no, yeah, this was never going to work, no matter where Gina was in the process of her career. Let's be clear. This didn't fail because she is a business owner. This just failed because they are who they are.
Exactly. So she talks about how she had a career change because she had a bartending job when she was going to hair school to make sure like she could provide for herself. But she went to school for
broadcasting.
She said for broadcasting. Okay.
She was going to be an anchor on your local news talking like this. Today in downtown, there was a shooting. 3 people died. Oh my God. So maybe not the best career for her. I don't know. Yeah. So something sparked something in her that she wanted to shift gears, go to hair school. And she never would have thought at the time that 10 years down the road, she would be owning her own company. And so she's very, very happy with that. And as she should be. But Clint says he's learning that she does have some risk-taking characteristics. And it reminds him of when he went from being a pilot to working in tech. Clint would have made such a good pilot. I could see Clint being a pilot. Like I could see it in my mind, or he's just like one of those people with like the aviator shades on, walking through the airport, thinking he's like the coolest person, ever. I could definitely see that for Clint. Gina was like, I want to do stuff like make my own educational platform. It'll be called Gina's Hair. Like she turns to the camera and just starts talking right to the camera. She's like, it's called Gina's Hair School. And at Gina's Hair School, you'll learn such things as highlighting. Like she just starts like pitching to the camera. Like, Gina, we told you before, this is not a vehicle for your career. Get back to your relationship. Well, talk to Clint.
What other content are we going to show?
And you can find it at GinaHairSchool.com.
Wink. And so we go back to their place, and she has invited some of the stylists to come over. And they say that like at the salon, they like to make light of a lot of things, but it's like organized chaos. They're giving some feedback, or not feedback, but sharing a little bit about what they think about Gina. They said that she's very organized, and
Gina is a great boss. She does so much for us. She is so organized, and she helps us a lot. Did I say that right, Gina? Is that good?
Gina's helps us a lot.
She's mouthing the words as they go. Like,
and then she's like, and next, you've never worked in a better salon. Got it.
Ashley, I told you what to say. You came in here and embarrass me. Stick to the script.
they're sharing these things about Gina. We get a confessional from Clint. He says like he knows like her element is being a boss lady at the salon. So I bet you Clint is so tired of talking
He's so
about her at the
tired. Like she keeps saying the same thing over and over again every episode. Both of them, they're just like, I like how dedicated and how much of a boss she is.
Yeah.
And it's really admiring to see her be so driven. Like, this is like a third episode in a row, I have to say this. And
Yeah.
Gina's like, I can definitely see me having a future with Clint. So tired. I would be surprised.
Chemistry is growing.
I would be surprised they just bonded over like the nonsense. Like, I had to say that again when the cameras came over. Like, yeah, isn't that crazy? Like, they just start bonding over like how much they hate each other, but they have to pretend for the cameras. The true love story.
Right. I feel like of all the couples that don't end up together, they would be the ones that would actually be friends.
Yeah. I mean, I do see there's like these moments of like momentary chemistry, like a momentary spark. I'm like, oh, okay, that was something right there. But then it just goes back to just like going through the motions and like, I can definitely see them being friends later. And who knows what could happen down the line. I don't know.
Right.
It just feels like, I don't know. It just feels like Gina is just Gina for sure has decided this isn't going to go any further.
Yeah.
She's not letting herself go that way. And I don't know what to think about Clint. Maybe Clint's just a good actor, but he seems more invested. But I think even Clint at this point is just kind of like, okay, where are we at? Where
right.
Two more weeks.
19 days until decision day. Got it. Clint does ask the ladies, the stylist, like their relationship statuses. And they're all just like, single, not dating or anything. And they're like, what about you? And he's like, I'm married.
Ma'am, do you know where we are? Do you know what show we're doing right now? Like, do you understand the situation? Like, are you new? They just grab you off the street and tell you to come up here? Do you not really work for Gina? Or are you just some like person that was outside, need an extra body? You don't know what's going on here?
Like, they went off script. She didn't have her line.
She's going to hear about it from Gina later.
And then Clint said it's contingent on if he likes the lasagna that Gina made. And so then we get a moment of him trying the lasagna. Guys, this is what we're working with.
What a waste of 2 minutes. Like, he literally, they take time. He cuts the lasagna, sits there with the plate. He plays with it for a second. I'm just like, where are we going with this? Like, what is
that's where we were going.
They cut 30 minutes from the show, y'all. And this is what we still got. We still got Clint eating the lasagna. Their letters must have been real trash because we didn't even get them. We got Clint eating lasagna instead of either of their letters. Letters must have been real bad.
Yeah, he said it was good and solid. So
good to know. I was waiting. I was like on bated breath, waiting to find out how good the lasagna was.
Was it good? Like, should we go get lasagna from Gina? I don't know.
New business venture, Gina Lasagna, GinaLasagna.com. What? Why? Stop.
Yeah. So that was all we got from them. On the next time on, I was trying to think. We didn't get anything that stood out for them.
It just seems like next week is intimacy week. We're talking about sex a lot. Asia's favorite week of the show.
Well, it's Dr. Pia's visit.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like a lot of sexual toys, and I think Gina and Clint are like playing with a feather because that's the level they're at. Like, I'm sure that Nicole and Chris will get like a whole suite of sex toys to use on each other. Everybody else just kind of gets like a feather. Like, this is y'all's level. This is where y'all are going to be. Just tickle her with a feather. Like, that's where y'all are right now.
Right. So let's rate them on a scale from 1 to 5. 1 being we don't think they'll end up together. 5 being we do think they're going to stay together, stay married. What are you thinking?
It's a 1, y'all. I mean, is that surprising to anyone?
I wish I had Taryn's soundboard. It's like a wah wah wah.
Yeah, that's definitely what we're working with them. They're a rock solid 1, basement level 1.
Yeah, they've been a 1 since. Well, we've only been consistent 1 since episode 11, but I've been giving them a 1 since episode 6.
That was probably the honeymoon.
Right. Yeah. So it went downhill. So which couple do you want to talk about next?
Let's talk about Nicole and Chris, our 5-star couple, just rocking and rolling. We start out because, this is, the week we want to talk about childhood. We want to do some other reminds us of our childhood. So they go to a restaurant that is similar to a deli that Nicole used to go to back when she lived in New York. She says that deli was kind of her comfort place when she was in New York. So she wants to show him kind of what it was like. In confessional, she says she's scared to tell Chris about her times as a child because she doesn't want him to look at her any differently from what she tells him. She tells him she always, since he was born, she's always needed attention, and her parents have always given her that attention. When she was 13, she's trying to figure out how not to be a kid, and her parents didn't set a lot of ground rules for her, and that really led to a lot of bad behavior. Like she was constantly lying to them, cutting school, staying out late. And then she talks about, going to Catholic school, going to confession, having to tell the father about all the times that she'd been lying in confession. And she would put herself in bad positions by doing things to fit in and try and be cool. But she was really just putting on an act. And it turned out she's putting on an act for people that weren't even worthy of her attention. And in confessional, she says, she's scared to tell him about their times as a child because she just keeps saying the same thing over and over. I don't want to look at me any differently. But Chris does say, I probably wouldn't marry the person that Nicole was back then. It reminds me of some of his exes that were like that. I said, well, Chris, that was when she was 13. I don't think she wants you to marry her 13-year-old self. I think you're good. I think you're okay.
But this is why I feel like Nicole knows her audience, because Chris is the only one who would be thinking like this, where I like that reminds me of some Chris, people grow. It's like as if, are you the same person you were in high school?
No, for sure not.
Like it's so far in the past that it should be no. Even if she was saying she used to steal cars every Friday just for fun,
unless she tells you about the people she murdered or right. I think you're cool. I think you're okay. But she kind of incepts this into his mind, though. She's like, she keeps telling him, like, I don't want you to think of me any differently because things I did back then. Like, why would I think that? You were a child.
Well, now I feel like I should think about you a little bit differently now that you've scared me and said that.
This is a self-sabotage duo. Like that's their thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and she tells him, I want you to get to know me, like to know who I am, all parts of me, because I don't want something to come out in a few months and then you think differently about me and we can't come back from that. So you think something that is going to be revealed from when you were a child 20 years ago is going to make me think about you differently now. Nicole. And she wants to just vomit this all out of him. She wants to get all out because she wants to know ahead of time. If it's going to end, she wants it to end now and not later because she's so worried at every waking moment that this thing's going to end. And it's crazy to see. And it's like, it's something else.
It's like a fear, like a fear phobia that needs to be worked on. Like it needs to be talked through, because it's only like, I know we've talked about self-sabotage a lot, but it's only going to be at a certain point can be damaging to their relationship to where
because she keeps harping on it.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like this ever-present part of their relationship consistently. And it's not like, oh, early on, that's what I was thinking. But no, we're consistently there, which only makes me think it'll continue to be there. The longer they're together, there's always going to be this new thing that she's thinking about, or even he's thinking about. He's the same way.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
She for sure constantly needs like self reassurance and like, validation from her partner. And I'm sure that can get quite tiring after a while.
Yeah,
it seems like every episode he tells her like, oh, but that's not you anymore. You're good now. You're great. You're so worthy of love. I think every episode he has to tell her that because she is kind of spiraling in all these conversations they have about like how terrible, how crappy she used to be. Like, but you're not that now. You're great now.
Right. I mean, like love languages are a thing, and words of affirmation is definitely off the charts her number one love language. And I mean, she said physical touch never was, and now it is with Chris, but it, like, she needs those words of affirmation. And I think it's obviously to the point that it's out of Chris's comfort zone to give as much as she needs, but they just have to find a balance. Because I feel like she's right now in this period of she needs it more because it's looming decision day. But maybe afterwards, the need won't be as high.
Yeah, I mean, and all that could definitely come with time. Like as they settle in and as they get a little more secure, as she gets more secure, I'm sure that decision day will be a big hurdle. That once they get over, that she can feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more assured, because the show constructs this like big like decision in the show, which is really just kind of like another day in the life, but the show makes it a huge deal. But I'm sure in her mind, once they get past that, she'll feel better. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. So driving around, and this was interesting. They're like, Cole's finishing her letter in the car, and it's like, good, you can read mine, Chris says. They're like,
they couldn't find any other time. They're that busy.
Then they went and sat down and read hers. Like, you want to go ahead and just read mine? Like, why? Why do I have to read yours?
We got to max 10 minutes out of this car. So we need to start in the car.
It's really like last day of the project. And we were like finishing it right before class. We just don't have any more time. So go ahead and read it now. The due date was like 2 minutes ago. Please read it.
They also are the same couple that had to do the fishbowl questions while they were working out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we forgot. The producer's like, come on, guys. We got to get this stuff in. We got to get into the editing bay.
They got things to do.
Yeah, she reads his letter, and his letter talks about, he talks to his younger self, and he talks to his younger self about standing up for what he believes in, not letting anyone walk all over him. He talks to his younger self about having to, about wanting him to talk to his dad about building a stronger relationship, and to talk to his mom about the guy she's dating, because he says, he talks to Nicole about, the fact that it broke his heart that his mom was in this like really terrible relationship with this guy who was, an alcoholic. He was verbally abusive. And in a moment where I think probably Aysha threw something at her TV, the guy had apparently threatened to kill their dog because the dog went in someone else's yard. Ooh.
See, that's why it's hard to trust people, because I know how much I care about my dog. That's like another element of dating that I am just like, one day I would have to trust someone to care for my dogs. Like, my mom, no problem, right? Like my brothers, no problem. That is fine. But like to trust someone who isn't at that level of loving them that I am, and it's just like, I'll just open the front door willy-nilly. But I mean, threatening to kill, that's another level. I'm thinking like carelessness.
Yeah. And Chris says he thinks, back then if he had talked to his mother about it, she might have listened, and like, because sometimes you need another person to tell you something to actually believe it. So he thinks that if he had said something, maybe she would have listened. In a confessional, Nicole says that, it's nice to know that Nicole and Chris's mom are a little similar, because they both in the past picked bad partners, but she's relieved that he can share this experience with her, and that means their bond is getting really strong. They sit down, they read her letter. Her letter to her preteen self is about her changing body, and she's starting high school. She's telling her younger self that even though you think you might know everything, you really don't. And people are going to come into your life to take advantage of you and to be smart and not to let them. She says one boy, relationship, or friendship is not going to define her, and she wants her to enjoy her life and not feel lesser than and unworthy of love. And she will meet a man that will make all this hurt and pain worth it, and to be receptive to him and give him love. And she is worth that love and respect, even if she doesn't feel it all the time. And she's going to grow up to be fabulous. So from the letter, Chris asks her, so why didn't you feel worthy of that love? She talks about how her first relationship really burned her to the core, and that she has done so much protecting of her heart that it has blocked her from seeing what can be there for her, the kindness and happiness that she could have. He asks if she's worried about her heart being broken still. She says, yeah, I mean, if we break up, even if it's an amicable breakup, it's really going to break my heart. In a confessional, she says she will never be 100% confident in her and Chris, and she always feels the risk of heartbreak, but the happiness that she's feeling at the moment is well worth the risk of the heartbreak. This is more like future fear, future worries about, oh, what if our relationship's going to fail? Like what bad? And that's really, as she talks about here, like all that, you know, the bad relationship stopped her from seeing what she could have, and that's what her fear is doing to her right now.
Yeah, it's so hard, and it's obviously easier said than done, but she is so, it's not even future oriented, but so fearful of the future that it's not allowing her to just enjoy the present.
Yes.
And it's so concerning, especially for her to say she will never be 100% confident. And I know some people can be, you know, can exaggerate a lot, you know, and be just dramatic, and I don't know. I feel like she knows herself better than anyone. So for her to say she'll never be 100% confident, she's thinking on past relationships. And she really needs to see that this is not like any of her past relationships. This is very different. And I don't think Chris is the type of guy she would have typically gone for in the real world. So she would need to have a different approach.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever seen anyone so like paranoid and self-doubting. But then I met Gabby from The Bachelor. She really takes the cake. She's expert level of what Nicole is. Boy,
what he put her through, though.
She put herself through a lot more, but that's another podcast.
Oh my goodness.
Chris then takes Nicole to a paint store. Nicole's wondering, what are we doing here? They get into the paint store. He tells her his dad owns his own painting business, and, you know, he and all his brothers used to work for their dad at, you know, one point or another. And, you know, he wants, in a confessional, he tells us that he wants her to know more about how he was growing up so she can understand him more. He talks to her about his parents' divorce and how his dad was involved in their life, but only every other weekend. And there were times where their relationship was really strained due to some things that his dad would say to him. So he didn't really feel like he had a male role model to look up to. He knows his dad cares about him, but it was tough for his dad because his dad was a perfectionist. And this husband thing is something that he's had to learn from other influences, not his dad. And his relationship with his dad has made him figure out the type of man he didn't want to be and the type of man that he does want to be. Nicole thanks him for opening up and giving her the background. I like
that point, though. I'm glad that he pointed that out. The type of man that he learned the type of man that he didn't want to be. Because for one, you have the overthinker Nicole who could be like, what if one day he starts to...
Are you worried you're going to turn to your dad? Are you worried you're going to turn to your dad one day? Like,
exactly.
No, not worried about that.
I feel like I'm the same way. I'm the most motivated when I feel like I know what I don't want to do. Like when I was in college, I became an RA because my RA was awful. And I was like, this is such an opportunity to make such a difference in these residents' lives. You give such
RA energy. It's crazy. What's the slob music in here, guys? It's after 10.
Oh my God. The RA stories I had, like, I need to start doing an RA story, a podcast, because I was an RA for 3 years in like UT's biggest dorm. So I have some stories for days. Yeah, like I busted a drug dealer one time who was living on campus.
I would love to see that. Hey, get out of here. No. Dirty drug dealer.
Hey, no, I smelled the marijuana, and then it was like, okay,
what marijuana smells like, Aysha?
We're trained on it. That's what the cops ask. They always ask us, how do you know the smell of marijuana? And we have to say, that's how we're trained for the smell. They literally, in RA training, they burn this thing and take it around for us to smell it. And they're like, this is what it smells like. And we're all like, I had no idea.
Oh my gosh, that's marijuana? You don't say. Never would have known.
So yeah, that my point was, that was one of the things I could totally relate to Chris, because anytime I could see that I could do something better, I'm like, the most motivated.
And that's how Aysha Welch became Aysha Welch, y'all. Motivating herself.
I can't believe you said I gave RA vibes.
You do. I'm not surprised.
I used to have, for Big Brother, I would do a Big Brother finale watching party.
Again,
it was great.
Not surprised. Back to the show. So yeah, Chris opens up about his dad and his life and everything. And in a confessional, Nicole says she's getting really better a sense of why Chris is always trying to make everyone feel happy and feel loved. And it's really in his core. And she wants to be his safe space. And that this is proving that she is his safe space. She's really feeling that now. Chris says he and his dad have come a long way. And he talks about the time when he really needed someone to watch his dog, Coda. He talks about Coda, you know Coda. He was my first dog that I had on my own. He'll always be my one and only. I was like, wait a minute.
I was like, wow, I could never say that about Pepper. I mean, yes, it's my first, but I can't say one and only because what about Cinnamon's feelings?
Well, the dog's like, oh. Well, I see how you feeling about me, Dad. All right, that's cool. That's whatever. That's okay.
That's what's up.
So yeah, I see where we're at now. I see I see the relationship. I see you. And he talks about how there was no one else to watch his dog. His dad stepped up to do it for him, and that was really the turning point and the moment in their relationship. Their relationship became stronger. We then talk about we flash back to Nicole on the brunch the day after the wedding, asking Chris's parents if she could call them mom and dad. And Chris talks about how, after that, that experience and after they got married, his dad texted him, talking about Nicole and, really how he admired her and how good a person she was. In a confessional, she says that her past really gives her pause when she meets nice people because she has fully trusted nice people before, and then they have proven to hurt her, after she thinks they're nice people. But now she thinks that Chris is really one of those nice guys, and he's not going to turn on her. Through this experience, she's seen that Chris is really one of those nice guys. They look at their wedding date color. It's called Seaside Resort, and they joke a little bit about retiring to Florida.
July 25th. It gives us a solid timestamp. We know that they got married July 25th.
Yeah, for real.
2022.
So yeah, that's the paint store. Did you get anything really out of this paint store thing?
No, I felt like it would have been more beneficial to do like a Kirsten and Shaq, bring some paint home, and they painted it, but like the store part of it felt irrelevant.
I mean, I thought it's interesting hearing about people's backgrounds. I think that part was interesting. I think they just try and force life lessons about each other through this, which is the way of MAFS. Mm-hmm. So they go home. They're at home. They're goofing around. They're like, "What are you going to do? Let's paint something." In a confessional, he says, "This week has been so heavy, and it's really nice to really end the week on a fun note by doing this painting." So doing all these paintings, Nicole has found a tattoo, I guess, temporary mustache. She puts it on, and they joke around a bunch, do a bunch of weird accents.
A bunch. I forgot Chris really likes his accents.
I mean, listen, at least he didn't do like Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything like that. But it seems like they both kind of do that kind of weird stuff. So this is more of a reasoning like they're together. They fit. They match.
They were having a blast.
A blast. She is laughing so hard she's turning red. It's like, oh my gosh, like they're having just a great time. In a confessional, she says she is so herself right now, and the fact that he isn't judging her for that is so amazing, and she's really never felt this way before. They go into their room to go hang the painting. So sweet and so cute. That's Nicole and Chris for this week. Let's do the ratings. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised in either of our ratings. Right. I'm going to give them a 5. What do you give it, Aysha?
I will give them a 5 as well. This is they are staying the course.
Yeah, they're doing the darn thing. Where are we going to next, Aysha?
So let's go ahead and talk about Jasmine and Eris. They did go on a double date with Kirsten and Shaq, so we'll save the double date content for Kirsten and Shaq section. So Jasmine's friend, Nikki, came over to visit the apartment. Jasmine said it's been a roller coaster. She's not used to being so vulnerable. She didn't think it'd be this hard, like as hard. She knew marriage was hard, but she didn't think it was going to be this hard. And she says she was so happy when she saw him because she thought he was attractive. And but for her, she says for her, all like for attraction, all she needs is that like you're cute. But now she's losing that attraction with everything that's happened, and she feels like it's just going to start fading faster. And she feels that
it's just more confirmation. It's like, I mean, you were cute, but dang, like you were like you never like you weren't all that. Like, and it's starting to die away. Like,
exactly. And she said she thinks that she feels like they're well matched and compatible, but he has to put in some of the work, and she knows she has to too. But they have a lot of ways to go. Nikki didn't really give much feedback.
Oh no, she didn't really give anything. She's like, well, you know, at first it's tough. Like, thanks, Nikki. Thanks a lot. You really helped.
Wise Nikki. This was nothing but just like a longer confessional for Jasmine.
Yeah, you could have really cut all this like out of the episode. I wouldn't have been mad. You could have made this episode an hour. But like, you know, it just is like just more of Jasmine. Like, I'm just tired of this stuff. I'm so tired. So she's so weary in this moment. It's just like really beaten down by this whole thing at this point.
I don't know how she's just not like just mentally exhausted and just I mean, we see it like we saw it last week with just kind of like shutting down with the questions, not having responses, but it like at least it doesn't seem like this is sucking the life out of her.
Yeah, I felt it was this episode. I could feel that this episode. Like it was just like
we still got moments of her laughing or having a good time, but it's just like, I guess
she was when she was the most perked up when she was talking to Shaq.
Because he wasn't Harris.
As she was lively again, she was smiling. She's like, oh yeah, Shaq. I'm just saying.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so they go to a card shop for Eris because he collects cards. He says we get a confessional where he says he knows that she's having a hard time, but he's trying to show her that he is willing and ready to open up and be vulnerable. But and he talked about this on After Party that he's been where she is. So now he's trying to be patient and show her grace now that he's the one that's ready and open. But I think that wasn't the problem. Like, he's still not attracted to her. Like, does he want to be with her?
The problem is that whole first month you spent every day telling her that you did not find her attractive. This whole opening up problem is a very recent problem that kind of came out of nowhere. And it's like, we're just kind of using this now as the substitute problem because she's tired of saying, well, I'm tired of him saying he's not attracted to me. And so now she had to find something else.
Substitute problem.
I just think he's really confused what the real issue is.
Yeah. I'm like, you opening up was not the biggest hurdle y'all had.
For sure. And it feels like he is, like, as he's going to say throughout this episode, like, I'm just opening up like crazy. I'm just opening up here. I'm opening up there. I'm opening up everywhere. But like, no, man, like what you need to do is prove to her that you find her attractive. If you have now found her attractive or something. I don't even know where we're at with that status.
Right. He hasn't mentioned it in episodes.
Yeah, well, he couldn't shut up about it the first month, and now we can't get him to say anything about it. He's like, damn, y'all didn't want me to say nothing about it before, but now y'all want me to talk about it. I want you to be attracted, and I want you to tell her that she's beautiful. You find her attractive. Do romantic things. Because yes, you're opening up. We've heard so much about your dad. We've heard a lot, and that's great. I'm glad he's opening up. I'm glad he's doing that. But I don't, like you said, that's not their biggest problem. He needs to come with the romance. That's what he needs to do. Exactly. If he feels that way. If not, just let it go.
Right. I think their biggest hurdle is her not feeling secure that he wants to be with her. And him opening up, he could open up to Shaq. He could open up to Dr. Pepper. That doesn't mean he wants to be with them. And Correct. So I think the point is just flying clear, right over his head.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll talk about it more with Dr. Pia next week, but it's just like, they need some intervention because he just feels like he's at a loss because he's opening up. What's the problem?
What's the problem? What's the issue? Think.
Thinking like Jasmine.
Oh, it's the time I kept telling her she was unattractive. That's right.
He's completely forgotten about that.
I think he has.
It's just he's like, what? When did I do that?
When did I do that? 12 flashbacks just in a row. Like, I just want like a producer to come up like, okay, we've got this iPad here with all the time you told her she was unattractive. Here you go.
And he's like watching it like the people used to watch on the show Cheaters. Wow. Oh my God.
Ooh. Y'all sure that's me?
Right.
Y'all sure it's not Barris? That's my twin.
Barris.
I know I said I was the only child, but I got an evil twin running around out there. He does some stuff like this from time to time.
Right. Oh my gosh. He never been in love either. We find out that growing up, Eris collected cards. He met his first group of friends like when he moved to Nashville through collecting cards. And he said even his therapist pointed out that moving around so much as he was growing up is why he just gets up and goes from relationship, whether it be like relationships or cities or whatever. And she was like, wow, I ain't got nothing to say. And they like show him like give like a look like what? And we get a confessional where she's like she's scared to open up because it's so easy for him to cut and run. I mean, and you also don't. He's also not a safe space for you.
Like, does she think like she's gonna open up there and the next day like his closet's gonna be emptied out and he's gonna be gone? I'm out.
He's like he's
out. Deuces.
He's like got her.
Got her. By the time you open up, I've been waiting to get out of here for days. But I think she hasn't had a problem opening up. Like as she said last episode, she's like, I don't know. I've told you everything. Like there's nothing I'm not like saying.
Yeah.
Like, and when she's asked to open up nowadays, she just falls back on like my girls I mentor. That's her thing. Like I don't know what else there is for her to open up about, or if she is holding anything back. I don't know. It just feels like she's been pretty open since the start. Now she's just like she's over it now, basically.
Yeah. Which same. I'm over watching them. So we get the letters to themselves, to their younger selves for just really high level. For his letter, he says, in the letter he wrote, the confusion at age 12 won't last forever. You won't be alone as you feel now. I can't wait for you to travel and experience all these different cultures. Make sure you cherish your mother because she's a superhero. Forgive your father for passing away. No one tells little black boys this, but it's safe to talk about your feelings. That was a sweet letter. I feel like he needed that for him. Like I feel like we are in a period right now where we're just trying to work on Eris.
Eris is trying to self-heal.
Yeah.
And through that, he can hopefully heal their relationship.
Exactly.
Because this has been kind of Eris's thing throughout this has been a point he's touched upon a lot. Like, all the stuff he talked about in his letter, like forgiving his dad for passing away, getting in touch with your feelings because, black men are not known to be in touch with their feelings, which is something that's interestingly been a topic of this show for like a few seasons now. I think we're in an interesting like generation where that's a big talking point for men in their like 30s.
Yeah.
Because I think we had like Elijah Wan and like Mike have the same issue a couple seasons ago. So it's interesting, and that's his way of opening up to her by telling her and the world this stuff. I think Jazz was just like, now tell me that I'm beautiful, please. Give me some sort of like something. Right.
Which is funny that you point that out because it reminds me of him trying to relate to Shaq on After Party. Being in this position.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Like he's like, yeah, like if you didn't watch After Party, y'all, because like Kirsten's talking about Shaq and like Eris jumps in. He's like, well, for black men, it's tough. She's like,
I'm gonna stop you right
there. That's
there.
not the issue. The man is plenty in touch with his feelings. He's just a punk. Like, it was not what she said exactly, but like that was basically the gist of it. That was so she stopped him dead in his tracks. Like, don't give me that.
I'm not even gonna hear you out.
That's your line, Eris. We know that's your thing, but that's not Shaq's issue.
Right. So Eris finishes his letter, and Jasmine was like, well, I wasn't trying to get too emotional, so I kept mine light. I was like, of course.
Not trying to get too deep over here.
Right. Like, didn't expect anything more.
And then she went kind of deep.
Like, she did. She did.
Like,
okay. So this was to her 9-year-old self. She said, you're a young girl who feels like she's on top of the world. You're about to make the biggest change of your life. There will be people who don't value your self-worth or your presence. You will accomplish some of your wildest dreams. And we get a confessional where she says she was in the best space at 9 years old before moving to Memphis because apparently she was too proper. And the bullying started when she moved to Memphis and didn't end until high school.
Man, when I tell you I've never related more to a 30-something-year-old woman in my life. Because that's kind of like, that's similar to like my story of like when I was growing up as a kid. So I was like, oh wow, that's very similar to like my experience I had when I was a kid. So like I was relating. I was like, I'm here with you, Jasmine. I'm here. I'm relating.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. That was definitely a relatable experience. And I feel like it definitely helps us understand her more. And I saw someone in the Facebook group point this out. The things that Felina was saying.
Yes.
Oh, you're so you're so, pageant girl. And it's like, she's always being judged for the way that she just is being.
Well, and the fact that Eris kept telling her that she's unattractive, I think also really hits that spot for her of her self-confidence. I think she even mentioned that with Dr. Pepper last episode, where she's done so much to work on self-love because she probably felt when she was that age, right before high school, that she wasn't worthy of like love or whatever. So she had to find love in herself. So Eris constantly telling her that he's not into her, both being unattracted to her and both of the shaming of her that she quote unquote hasn't done anything with her life because she hasn't had threesomes or whatever, so have you, is just piling more on her insecurity from what she felt before.
Yeah, exactly. Not helping the situation at all. But he's open.
He's opening up. It's all good
now. He responds to her and says that he thinks it's really cool, especially since she mentors little girls. And we get a confessional. He said he's at a place where he's just been wide open. And then he jokes with her that they should copyright those letters and sell them.
she does. I mean, she still laughs at his jokes.
But yeah, she does. She busts out laughing.
So, it's not all terrible, but what are we going to do with these people?
Right, exactly. And then the last scene outside of the double date we got with them was he has this letter that his dad wrote his mom that he reads from time to time. Like he'll read it on Father's Day, or he'll read it like if he passes the park and sees a dad playing with his son. Like he just finds many opportunities to reread this letter. And we get a confessional from him. He's saying he's taken the lead on being vulnerable. And so this letter is dated, he said it was before Jasmine was born. It was October 17th, 1989. And the letter pretty much says, I miss you guys. This is from his dad to his mom before his dad passed away. And he says, I miss you guys. I'm sorry. I love Eris too. I need my son to be a part of my life so I can be whole again. I'm now in a better position to take care of him. Anything will make, or no, I'm better. I'm in a better position to take care of him. So what did you think about this letter that Eris keeps?
I thought the letter was really touching, and I can definitely see why he keeps this letter and why it means so much to him, because it's a declaration of love from his father, to him basically, and how dedicated his father wanted to be, or I don't know what result this letter came out like, if his father was more dedicated to him or whatever, but it's just a snapshot of this man's life where he's getting his life together. He has this figured himself out to a degree and wants to be there for his son, for the mother of his child. I thought it was a great letter. I was like, to have something like that from a parent who is deceased means a lot. So I'm not surprised that he keeps it with him and that he reads it for, whatever inspiration or when he's feeling a certain way. I thought it was a great letter.
Yeah, and he said on After Party that she's the first woman he's ever read it to, and he, like, with women in the past, he'll just say his dad passed away. He won't even say that his dad was murdered. Like, he won't even go beyond that.
I mean, listen, no matter what happens out of this situation, this does feel like a growth moment for Eris. I mean, we don't think spoiler alert, we don't think this is going to work out well. But I think this is going to teach him a lot about himself and about how he lives life, and I think that's definitely going to be a good thing for him. It'll be at the expense of Jasmine, but it'll be a good thing for him.
Yeah, that's why I say, like, we're in the Eris growth era because I don't have high hopes for the relationship, but at least he could come out of this better than the man who was saying goodbye to the streets.
Yeah, I think after this he'll probably go right back to the streets. But, but I think he might. But I think he might act a little better while he's out in the streets. Let's say that.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Maybe. Who really knows?
So let's go ahead and rate them 1 to 5. What are you thinking?
I don't know. Well, I do know. Why did I say that? They are 1. They're nothing but a 1.
You're like,
that's what they are.
Maybe a 3.
I forgot where I was for a second. I was like, I don't know. I was like, wait a minute. No, we're talking about Eris Jazz. I know exactly where we are. They are a 1.
We are on a podcast talking about Married at First Sight.
Blacked out for a moment.
You're like, wait, what? We were in a conversation.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least.
The couple of the moment in this episode. This episode was their episode, and we've going from episodes we were like, where's Shaq and Kirsten? There's no Shaq and Kirsten content. The past like 4 episodes have been about Shaq and Kirsten, faux show. So we opened the episode, and Shaq is arriving at an open house that Kirsten is throwing out. Do you think this actually was one of her open houses, or is this just kind of like
absolutely not
done for the show?
It probably was definitely like a house that she is like responsible for right now that she's listed. But yeah, no, it's not the same time or leading up to because the way they do filming, like they have hours of filming. So it wasn't like, oh, let's film, quick 1 hour before you get your open house off the ground.
So she walks him around the house, gives him a house tour. That's nice. It's a really nice house. I like the house.
What is it? 1.9 billion? I mean, not billion, million.
I thought it was like 3 million.
Oh, 3 million.
2.9 million.
2.9,
yeah. He talks about how much he admires her for what she does, and he says it's really sexy to see what she does as a realtor. They talk about getting a house and having kids running throughout the house. They kind of say their house is gonna be like the fun house where they're gonna be movie nights, game nights, all the kids are gonna have friends over. This was really interesting, like thing to do as like a couple in this process, to be like future casting so far, like to be talking about kids and talking about what your kids are gonna do. Like they're in an interesting space here where they're talking about like what their life's gonna be like, as if they're just like, we're in it. This is what our life's gonna be.
Yeah. If you had said last week which couple is going to talk about envisioning their kids, I wouldn't have expected it to be them. Which I feel like was a fun exercise, right?
For real.
I mean, if you are seeing beyond decision day, which she has asked him to do, like, don't look at the end of our relationship as decision day, like try to see beyond it. I felt like this was one of those more natural moments where they could have fun together, but also have like a little bit of realness.
Yeah, she even says, like, in a confessional that they shoot together, that she can really feel the chemistry with him while they're in the house doing this. And they take a seat, they sit down, and I feel like Kirsten like puts on her like real estate voice in this moment. She's like, "So, can you see yourself buying a house soon? Do you see it in your future?" He says, oh yeah, I could definitely see it in my future. I never knew what exactly to do. She talks about how, yeah, well, we have to, start getting on that as soon, because I mean, we're just kind of throwing our money away renting places right now. She tells him the time is right now. They can wait until his lease is up. He's like, well, that's just like in 3 months. She's like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. He says we got to give it time. And he wants to make sure that he's financially stable enough to buy a house for them, because he's got so many, he's got so many things like school bills to pay and all that stuff. And she makes it clear to him, you're gonna have to buy me a house so I can say that my husband bought me a house. He says, you don't want to help with the house? She's like, I'll be on the deed. And she knows people that their husbands buy them cars and houses. He's getting upset. He's like, so you're basically demanding that I buy you a house? She's like, buy us a house. It'll be our house. She's like, well, you said me when you said buy me a house. Okay. So it's a big topic of conversation throughout the online MAFS community. I've seen a lot of troubling things talking about Kirsten in this situation. So what was your thought when this was happening?
I thought she was just being playful and joking, and I don't think she ever thought it would get the conversation would get as serious as it does later for them. But I think in this moment, it was just like hey, we're still in that, we're talking about things that'll happen in the future. Hey, for me, it was very playful, and he was not on that same page at all. And so I think for him, he was projecting the thoughts that he's had about her from the beginning, that he thinks that she always has to have things her way, and that if it's not a certain way that she doesn't like it, he thinks that she's so particular, and that's ingrained in his head. So even in this moment of her joking about him buying a house like that, Shaq, she knows very well that you are not about to buy a $3 million house. She knows that if anybody, a realtor, knows how this process works, what you're going to be approved for, that was not any realm of reality. She's not going to expect you to be outside of your means to purchase a house similar to that. And so I think the fact that he already feels that way about her, that was only adding to his running list of reasons that Kirsten always wants things her way.
Yeah, and when she first started the whole buy us house thing, she is smirking through the whole thing. She's trying to hold back laughter at points. So I in no way felt that this was a serious demand of you gotta buy us a house now. You gotta buy me houses, cars. Also, she was she's the most playful we've ever seen her be.
Right.
So I in no way took this to mean that. Now, do I think that Kirsten does at some point want Shaq to buy them a house, to provide them a house? Yes. Mm-hmm. A $3 million house? No. Right this second?
And in 3 months? No.
Yeah. No, not at all. I think and she talks about it much later in the episode, the last scene of theirs, where she gets pretty serious at that point. She's like, what are you talking about? I know that when we sit down, we have this conversation, we're going to find something in our means. And I think that also means that she is willing to chip in and help buy a house. I don't see a world where she's just oh, nope, it's all on you. And for people to be online with their just ridiculous notions of she's a gold digger, she only wants him for a house, blah blah blah, I think is pretty ridiculous.
That's so extreme.
Extreme.
And I feel like with people that feel that way, it's already what you've already thought about Kirsten. Yes. So you're just thinking that it's as if she can't have any fun, right?
Right. They're taking what like you said, what they already thought, and they're ignoring the real context of what's happening. Yeah. They're not looking at it through an objective lens, looking at it through the lens they already think of her for. Oh, she let's see, this is what we're talking about. She only wants him for his money. She only wants him for a house. No, I don't think that's the case at all. And to suggest that is kind of irresponsible and insensitive, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So we get to the childhood portion of the episode where she takes him to a house that she grew up in when her parents were still together. She talks about how, she shows him, like, I mean, because this is MAFS. We're not allowed to go into these houses. We're only allowed to just go outside the houses and start pointing with a camera crew as people that live there now look outside and go, who is that? Why are they pointing at our house? Should we worry? Should I call the cops?
Right.
Are you about to get robbed? Like, so she talks about, this is the house that they were all together and as a family right before her parents broke up. She says it represents a great time they had as a family. She talks about how her father provided for her and her family. And this house brings happiness, also brings sadness because she has to think about her parents breaking up. He asked her what she remembers about that time. And she says, she was 8. She really remembers being upset when they, split apart. And she wishes they really could have found a way to stay together. But it taught her how to be strong, how to deal with obstacles in a marriage, and to survive and be happy. She has learned a lot from the past. She kind of relates this talking about her dad providing a home for them to what she is putting on Shaq in terms of providing. Like, I know that you think I want you to provide all this stuff, but it's because my father did that for us and our family. Shaq to that says, I get that, I understand all that, but a man should be willing to provide without having to be told or forced to provide. And he understands that it should happen, but to let him do it on his own. I think that's a big part of this too, where I think Shaq has no issue with buying a house. Mm-hmm. It's the way that he
don't want her to expect him to buy a
right.
house.
I don't want you to demand me to buy a house. I will do it on my own. Like, I think it hit him in a spot, hit him in his ego a little bit. Mm-hmm. That they're in this house, like, because he thinks that she wants him to buy a $3 million house, and he's like, well, he's feeling insecure because maybe his means are not that level yet where he can buy a $3 million house. He's like, what do you?
Even if they were, I feel like it'd be like a Bilal situation. Like, I want to make sure that you want me for me.
Yeah. It's a test. Don't take you to a broken down house. This is a house I can afford.
Yeah.
So I think, it's the way that she joked about it that really hit him hard. And kind of,
because maybe it's an insecurity.
Yeah, I think it is. And it let him not really see that it was a joke. And that's really blinding him to that. And he's taking it a lot more seriously than it should be taken.
Yeah. Because, you hit the nail on the head. I was just about to say that it was an ego thing. Because why? Like, now you're saying the opposite just to be defiant.
Right.
Like, I want to do it because I want to do it, not because you want me to do it. You're demanding me to do it, or you're demanding that I do the things your dad does, but I want to be able to do what I want to do. And it's just exactly. Like, I feel like that's not a mentality that you can maintain and is healthy in a marriage. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're exactly right. And maybe this also stems from Shaq, like, not having a father figure in his life, and this comes from that as well. Because in a confessional, she talks about how tough it's been for her to introduce her dad to Shaq, and how her dad is having a tough time with the whole like Married at First Sight process. So she wants to make sure that things are very solid with Shaq before she introduces him to her dad. This was because her dad was not at the wedding. Right. He didn't come, and I think that was mostly from the fact that this is a crazy thing to do. I think, which you can say whatever you want about the dad not coming. We've had it before in the past on Married at First Sight, and I think that and we even got into it on After Party. She was like, I've tried to introduce them, and like it just hasn't worked out. Which to me, it's like, if dad lives in Nashville and y'all live in Nashville, or at least Tennessee, I think you could have found some time. I think that's kind of an excuse.
Right. And maybe the extra element of filming, like they have to correlate it with filming. Like maybe it's a random Saturday, like, oh, this would be perfect opportune time. Mm-hmm. But then maybe now it's to the point where they need to get it or they need to capture it because it's a thing that he hasn't. I don't know.
Yeah, Shaq talks about, when I do meet your dad, I'm going to have to take a lot of notes from him to figure you out, figure out what you need and what you want. In the confessional, Shaq talks about the fact that, she is holding him to a standard, that is set by her from her dad. but he's never met her dad, so he's not even sure how to reach that standard. And he needs to talk to her dad to understand the way that she feels and how she is. What do you think of that exactly?
Yeah, it's very annoying. I feel like, yes, okay, maybe Shaq has entered this marriage with like an insecurity with how he can provide, since he did, like, he's looking for, like, he wants to make sure that he can provide, and so any inkling that someone thinks that he can't, it's a blow to him.
It's
And
an insecurity
so
for sure.
yeah, so then it feels like, when has Kirsten ever said like, "Oh, you don't do this," or "You don't do this"? It's all future orient. Like in this episode, talking about, the house or the car. That I don't feel like, has she knocked his ability to provide present day?
I think part of what has gotten her attracted to Shaq is the way that he takes charge and the way that he, and his career-minded self. So I think that's probably what attracts her to him, and to suggest that now it's all about the car and the house. She's never had a real doubt, I don't think, that he can provide those things.
Right.
It's a mess. And I think a lot of this I would put on Shaq's shoulders and not Kirsten's. I put a lot of fault in this whole like argument on Shaq, to be honest.
I do too. I feel like if he had handled it lightly, like, yeah, I'm gonna buy you I'm gonna buy you a house, I'm gonna buy you the world, whatever you want. That conversation could have ended right there.
Because that's the level Kirsten was at. She's like, "Oh yeah, you got to buy me a house." Like if she was talking in that tone, and you're like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna get this $3 million house. I'm gonna get you a $6 million house." Girl.
Yeah, 10 million. Like, I got you.
Sky's the limit. I think that's the energy that Kirsten was bringing.
Literally,
and then he just brought like a way different tone, which I think is an issue in their relationship, because I think we've had this same issue like with them, where their energies aren't matching and they're not. They're miscommunicating. And I think, as Kirsten even says it later, like they're kind of miscommunicating, not on exactly the same page. And that thing at that house was like a textbook example of that.
Yeah, they literally are never, like 99% of the time they're in the same book, but they're never in the same chapter. It's just like, if we can get them in the same chapter a few pages apart, we'll be closer to the goal.
They've each want to be on page 69 at different times. Let me just say that. Anyway, the next scene we get with them, they are at a restaurant. They're going to go meet up with Shaq's god sister and his godmom. In a confessional, he talks about the fact that, he's a big family man. He wants to know her family. So he's going to take her to introduce her to his family, so he can show her how important family is to him. So maybe she'll get the hint and introduce him to her family.
Wink, wink.
Or you could just say, "Can you introduce to your family already?" Like, or you can just be direct. I was like, why are we dropping hints and clues? Like, all right, whatever. So the god mom and god sister, I think their names are Daphne and Destiny. I think.
Daphne and Destiny, yeah.
Daphne and Destiny. They get together. They show Kirsten a bunch of baby photos of Shaq. Talk about how Shaq was a baby, but he always acted like the oldest of all the kids, and he was all about the business. And they talk about how dedicated Shaq is to their family. Shaq sees a picture of his grandparents and say, our grandparents were the center of our family, and when they passed, they felt the family start to move apart. So he stepped up and he got everyone together more for holidays and made new traditions like a Christmas breakfast. The god sister says, he's always been like a big brother to her. I did not understand the actual familiar relationship these people had. I almost thought that they were blood related, but they were his god mom and god sister. I did not understand exactly what the relationship was.
Right. Like usually when you have like the god mom I haven't heard god sister that often, but when you hear like god mom, godfather, you would hear the relation, like how do y'all, how do y'all,
a friend of his mom,
but that never came up.
Yeah, it felt like it was more of a blood thing than a family friend thing. I wasn't sure. So they talk about the infamous car accident. Shaq says, his mom lost control of the car. All the kids were ejected out of the car. He and his brother landed in a barbed wire fence. All his siblings were laying in the street. All he remembered was blood. And we find out they were all separated from each other for 2 weeks. They wouldn't give him any updates on his siblings or his mom. And then they all got reunited after a couple weeks, and everyone was crying. Like, oh, that's abnormal. I feel.
2 weeks? Why is that?
I'm wondering if like all the kids were ejected out of the car because no one was wearing seatbelts, and maybe that was an issue.
Was there
with,
like an Yeah, trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That was an odd like thing about this.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks. That's a long time.
In a confessional, Kirsten talks about how him recounting the situation of the car crash helps her realize how much family means to Shaq and how big a role he plays in his family, and she really loves that about him. Kirsten asks, as they're all sitting there, she asks, so how does Shaq being so involved in his family really, work in our marriage? Daphne says, well, you just got to show up and support and be by his side. And he has a lot going on, so you just need to be there and help him take care of things. He's going to take care of you, and you take care of him. Do you understand what the question was from Kirsten?
I think she was trying to say, do you think that he's too busy to like devote time to a marriage? But she asked it in such a convoluted way.
Yeah, it was like a roundabout way. Like, it was almost like, so is he gonna be too busy for me? Like, is he gonna be too involved with y'all to take care of me? Like, is that gonna be a thing? Mm-hmm. Almost felt that way, but I don't know. The answer was also not.
Like, yeah.
The answer didn't seem to fit the question. It's like, I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe we have some editing here, but I think it's because we did have the previous issue where he was working a lot, and he got to spend time going to the gym or hanging with his friends. So maybe she's just thinking like, hey, I want more quality time.
Like, this is another thing that's going to come in between me and him.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, you just got to go there with him when he goes to the family stuff.
Right.
But maybe that's the quality time that Shaq needs away from Kirsten, because,
mm-hmm.
he needs time away from her, but that still counts as quality time, though.
Right.
In Shaq's world.
Yes.
So then we get this interesting outing. Shaq, has apparently brought together he and Kirsten and Jasmine and Eris. He has set up this whole, like, I don't know, Nerf war at a course. I was like, why are we separating people by the races? I don't understand. We had the white date a couple of episodes ago, and now we got the black date. I was like,
it's the people that they are the closest to, or I guess that they've clicked.
But are they? Because we've talked about, like, this season more than any others, they all feel very separated from each other. Like, there's no, there doesn't seem to be any real bonding going on between any of the couples as there usually is.
Yeah, that's true. But are Eris and Shaq good friends?
No idea. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, we knew that, for example, Mike and Elijah were best buddies. So were Jasmine and Katina on that season. But I just haven't, like, a Kristen and Alexis last season. Haven't gotten that feeling this season at all. Because there hasn't been a lot of group outings. Like, we've complained in seasons past, like, why is it every episode these people got to get together and do something all together? Mm-hmm. Seems like almost every episode. It hasn't been like that this season. They've been pretty separated.
Yeah, now we're getting these forced double dates.
Yeah, and interesting things come out with double dates. So they have their little Nerf war. I thought this was a lot of fun. I would have enjoyed something like this. Takes me back to my childhood when we have, like, Nerf wars. Everyone would bring their Nerf gun. I had to borrow someone because my mother would not let me have a Nerf gun because it was a type of gun according to her. So I had to borrow someone's Nerf gun and probably do stuff that my mother would not have let me do outside of her vision. But we'll get to that another day. So the ladies end up winning the Nerf war, mostly because the guys drop their ammo and they pick it up and they run out of ammo or something. It looked like fun. So then
it definitely looked like it'd be more fun with more people, though.
Yeah, there were just 4 people running around this giant warehouse set up for more of something else.
Like, were Chris and were the other 2 couples busy? Like, that, it would have been way more fun 4v4.
Yeah, exactly.
More to work with.
Yeah, but it was just them in an empty warehouse.
Yeah.
So we get a breakout session, right? We get Shaq and Jasmine, and we get Kirsten and Eris splitting up. So Shaq and Jasmine sit on just a broken down car, I guess, in the middle of this warehouse.
Yeah. I mean, and that was the shot that you thought was on the Where Are They Now?
Yes, for sure. So I was like, what's already? Because I for sure, when we saw this in the More to Come, it was a Where Are They Now special type of thing. And they had both broken up with their spouses. And the show was like, let's see if we get sparks. But it's early. It's come early. I was like, still in the car. He says he wants to talk to Jasmine to really get a female perspective on what he's going through with Kirsten. He asked her how things are going. She says, you can tell in her mannerisms. She's just like, let me tell you, I'm here. She says, Eris is sharing more. He's opening up. So she's really hopeful that they can move in a better direction. She says some days she feels like he wants to be married forever. Other days it feels like he is counting down until D-Day. And she wants to make sure whichever way it goes, she's staying true to herself and true to her feelings. Shaq says, Shaq tells her, you have to think about what you want for yourself. You have to think about what you want out of this. And as a black queen, you have to say either you're going to sit on the throne with me or you're going to fumble and someone else is going to pick it up. And he says, I'm not trying to hit on you or anything. He got his own wife.
Yeah.
But then this is the moment that they showed us on the preview. He says that she is beautiful inside and out. And just continue to be herself and walk in her truth. Now, MAFS, they were trying to do something. They were trying to make us think something was happening.
Absolutely. And the poll they put out before the show about like who says that quote about, I have a wife. As soon as I saw them separate, I was like, oh, this is when Shaq's gonna say this.
Yeah, exactly. So, we also got a moment with Eris and Kirsten, but it seems like nothing came of this, and they're just like, y'all give us something. Like,
could you imagine having to confide in Eris?
He's probably just like, yep, yeah, it's going good. It's going good. Things are good. Things are happening. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So Eris and Kirsten sit down. Eris asks Kirsten, about Kirsten and Shaq, how are things going. Kirsten says they're making progress. Her attraction to him is growing, but it gets tough, and sometimes they miscommunicate. Eris says, I'm happy to hear that. And that's it. That's all
Eris
we get.
Is just a man of so many words.
The two people that talk the least on this season were put together, and that's what we got. Like, all right.
There's no way the producer did not have to guide that conversation. Like okay, Kirsten.
Can y'all say anything else? Either one of y'all got anything else to say? Like, nope, we're good. Like, all right, I guess that's all we're gonna get out of them guys. I don't know. Let's go back to Jasmine and Shaq.
Right.
We go back to Jasmine and Shaq. It's still going on because they have more to say.
Right.
Jasmine turns it over to Shaq. So how's it going for you guys? He says, it's really day by day. Kirsten has so many expectations for him as a man. He talks about how he wants him to buy her a house. He says, this is like $3 million house she looked at. You want me to buy this house for her? That no one said that, Shaq. No one said that.
Not a single person.
And he says, they have to get past D-Day first for her to think about those things. And it makes her think that when he says that to her, like talking about D-Day, it makes her think that he doesn't want her. And Jasmine says, like, yeah, you shouldn't say that. Like, you shouldn't be talking about that type of stuff, like D-Day stuff. Like, we got to get past D-Day. Because, yeah, that does make her think that you're, like, just wanting to end this at decision day. He says he wants to make sure they are planning for the future. She says, well, it seems like when she's telling you to look for houses to buy, that's what she's doing.
That's the future.
Yeah, like, that's, like, open your eyes, Shaq. Open your eyes, man.
The same way he be saying that she always wants things the way she wants it. The same goes for him. Yes. When she says she's being open, she's being flirty, but she's saying things not in the way that he wants it. Or like when they went to the plant store, she was trying to take in the plants the way she could, but she wasn't saying the things the way he wanted it. So he had an issue with it. Like, just hold up a mirror, please.
It's those people that talk about compromise all the time. When they don't want compromise, they just want the person to do things the way they want them to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not compromising with me, meaning you're not doing what I want you to do. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But he tells her again, but it's about the expectations. And he says, they come from her dad being the provider. So she has all these expectations she's setting for me to do everything for her. Jasmine asks, you say it's from her dad. Have you gotten some insight from her dad? He says, well, I haven't met her dad yet. And Jasmine says, well, does that bother you? He says, no, not really. And he starts talking more. She's like, I feel like it really bothers you. He goes, he goes, yes. Okay, fine. Yes, it actually does bother me.
I love how she interrupted him. Like, okay, stop.
listen. I was feeling something. I was feeling sparks. What were you feeling, Sparks? What were you feeling?
I was feeling a certain like easiness between them. They could very easily talk to each other, and she felt very comfortable calling him out. So it was just like, it felt like she was more comfortable being herself.
But the thing is,
could be open.
Yeah, the thing is about that though, that comes from having no pressure, right? That comes from
exactly.
They don't mean anything to each other. They're just like probably just acquaintances at this point.
Yeah, she probably would have been like that with Chris.
Right, exactly. So I mean, there's no pressure involved in the situation, so they can just be easy breezy and not have to worry about it. So let's not go shipping people all the way, guys.
Yeah, I mean, what did you think about Rudy asking them that on after party?
I didn't even catch that. What did she say?
She asked, she was like, we got a question viewers want to know, which are these made up questions,
of course.
And she said, the viewers want to know, Jasmine and Shaq were a little comfortable with each other. Did it seem like they were being a little too like flirtatious?
I did not even catch that. I must have been like looking down or something. I don't know.
Eris was like, no, I got like 2 good friends hanging out.
That's so bizarre to ask their spouses that on the after party.
And then Kirsten was like, I agree with Eris.
Oh my gosh.
So they didn't get the response they're looking for there.
People of few words, of course. So we're back at Shaq and Kirsten's apartment. They're having a little debrief about the day. They're talking about how much fun they had on the outing with Eris and Jasmine. She's killing a salad. She's just slurping it down. He's like, oh, you really like that salad, huh? She's like, oh, your salads are always so good. Apparently he made her that salad. She's going to town on that thing. She asked him how the talk with Jasmine went. He says, yeah, it went well. I told her about your expectations for me to buy you a house and how high the expectations are. She says, I don't really think they're high expectations. I mean, if you want to replace my Mercedes with a Lamborghini, I'm not going to be mad at you. Right. And he jokes, I'll replace your Mercedes with a Honda or a Toyota if you keep this up. She tells him, like, I was just joking with you. He says, I don't think you were. You were talking a lot of stuff about buying you a house, buying you a car. I don't think you were joking. And she says, well, I do know people that, like I said, their husbands do buy them cars and houses and stuff. He says, well, go marry them then. That's them. And that's their life. That's not their life. She says, well, don't blow my words out of proportion. And in her words, get crazy. Like, don't get crazy tonight. I'm not trying to get crazy with you tonight.
I was like, she also was, we got to see that, maybe it's like realtor Kirsten come out when she was with Daphne and Destiny. She was like, ooh, what can y'all tell me about Shaq? Was like,
does Shaq know you picked out these baby pictures? Right. I mean, it's definitely entertainer Kirsten. It's definitely housewife Kirsten, which we've seen a few times through the season. He talks about, that stuff works for those people in their marriage, and I'm happy for them, but you can't compare our relationship to those people. She says, I'm not about to have this conversation with you right now. He says, oh, you scared to have the conversation? She says, no, we just have had the same conversation before.
I'm like, are they about to box? You scared?
You scared? What?
I'm not scared of nothing.
On, let's go. Don't let the real Kirsten come out tonight. Right. He says, you don't want to talk about it, but I do want to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And she starts talking. And she says, can you please chew your food before you start talking? She's like, what? I'm covering my mouth. So dumb. So ridiculous. He says,
I can hear it.
Yeah. He says, well, if you don't want to have the conversation, I'm going to have it myself. And she says he's acting crazy. And, she's not acting crazy with him tonight. He says, but go ahead. You get it out. Let's hear it.
Right.
He says that it feels like if she doesn't get what she wants, that she's going to act some type of way. She says, no, that's not the case at all. I was just joking with you. And then he shoots back at her. Well, I remember somebody talking about me joking too much. We get
and they give us a flashback.
Yeah, we get the flashback to the honeymoon where she's chastising him for being too jokey. And he says, I'm not the one out here joking around about buying houses. And he knows that when she said it, she really meant it. She tells, and this is when she gets
That's
real,
when she
real.
gets serious, because
Yeah.
like for him to reference that, she's like, okay, this
Right,
is a
like,
serious conversation.
It feels like she's still joking with him up until this point. She's like,
Yeah.
all right, he's getting real, like he's getting real now. So let me get real. She says, look, once we reach the level of our marriage of buying a house, we will talk about it together. We will see what we get approved for. He says, oh, like for $3 million. She's like, no. I said what we get approved for, and that is when that time comes. He again says, well, when you said it, you meant it. And you said it as a me thing, not a we thing. In a confessional, she's like, I don't understand why he's getting so upset over this little comment I made. He really needs to pump the brakes, and he's really overreacting. She says she tells him she doesn't want to put pressure on him, and they will be fine and they will be great. She really like tries to reassure him at the very end of this. And much like Married at First Sight, we get no real resolution to this. And the episode just ends on this note. So I'm sure, because next week we see them doing the intimacy exercises.
Yeah,
he ties her up, so they seem just fine next week, and that this will just be kind of left in the dust. I think. I don't know if we're ever going to hear about this again.
Do you think it's on the next time on? Do you think it's editing when Dr. Pia says, "Do you think he's masculine enough?" And she's like, she's probably gonna say like, yeah.
I don't know. She has taken opportunities to kind of put him down a little bit without trying to put him down, where she's like talking about the chemistry and all that. I mean, the man makes bow ties. But anyway, I don't know. I think at this point, I think it might be clever editing. I think she will say like, yeah, he's definitely masculine, but he could, there'll be a but in there somewhere.
Yeah. She may say like, but he is more in touch with his feelings than I am, or something like that.
Yes.
I don't think it's going to be as dum.
He gets all emotional.
Yeah. She's definitely not going to go that route. But yeah, that was it.
That was us. So let's do our ratings. I think this will be interesting ratings. Where are you at with them?
So I feel like if he hadn't overreacted about this house comment, they wouldn't have had any content this episode. But I was a 3 last week, and I think I'm still a 3.
Yeah, I went up to a 4 last week, and I think I'm going to stay there.
All right.
I think this was just a momentary blip. I don't think there's going to be anything real consequence come out of this.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think next week we'll just forget this ever happened, and they'll just go about going back to their lives. I don't think this had any lasting impact on them, so I'm going to keep it my 4. I have really high hopes for them. I want them to work because I can see where they would be a really good couple. Yeah,
I could see that too. They just have to not be in their own way.
Yeah, I really want her to introduce him to her dad. I think that's something that's really needed. And I do wonder if it's mostly dad's reluctance to film. Maybe I feel like that's definitely a part of this. And maybe once the cameras go away, he'll be more comfortable, talking to Shaq and showing up at their place. She did mention on afterwards. She's like, he's talked to him on the phone. I talked to my dad on the phone. He was on speaker and he said hi to Shaq.
Yeah, she's like, they had that connection. They real quick, hey.
It's like, Kirsten, come on.
You're right. Well, good. I mean, that's it. That's it for this episode.
Listen, y'all, you know us. We usually go over 2 hours.
Right.
And we're at, as I speak, an hour 38. So that should tell you about the episode.
What we're working with.
And what content we had to work with. Hopefully we'll get back to our, so much to say next week.
We still need a retreat. Are they going to do a retreat?
I mean, the retreat usually comes right before the end, right?
Yeah, but
we got 18
I haven't
days
seen
left
any
still.
major I thought I would have saw a lot of that on the still to come.
There was some on the still to come. There was the point where Gina said she didn't want to be married to her best friend, and look at they were outside on a deck, and they were all sitting around a big table. I would imagine that is the retreat, probably.
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah, y'all. Hopefully we get some more to go on next week because this was kind of a slow, nothing much to talk about week.
Yeah, exactly. But thanks for sticking with us, y'all. We appreciate it.
Hopefully
y'all are here every week. Yeah. Jason, where can people find you and what you've been up to?
You can find me on Twitter at JAYR1085. I got some stuff going on. I recently wrapped up coverage of Dear Edward over on Post Show Recaps with the great Marissa Garza, who Aysha has behind my back doing podcasts with.
And we had a great time.
I'm sure you did. So we wrapped up Dear Edward there on Post Show Recaps. Also, this week I talked with Puya over on the 90 Day Fiance or RHAPup on this here network. So you can find me there on the 90 Day Fiance or RHAPup. Coming up, I will be talking to the Podfather, Rob Sesternino, on this week's Survivor feedback show. I will be there talking to him this week about this episode on Wednesday. Coming up, I will be talking to Sasha Joseph about The Power, which is a show that's coming out on Amazon Prime this coming weekend. So we'll start talking about that show this week. Check me out there on Post Show Recaps. That's all my stuff. Aysha, what about you?
Yeah, so y'all can follow me on Twitter and TikTok at Aysha like Aysha. That's AYSHA like ASIA. Like I said, Love is Blind is back, so go catch that. Mary Kukowski and I recapped the first 5 episodes, and we'll be back to talk about episodes 6 through 8 when they drop this week. I also joined the Top Chef for RHAPup to talk about season 20, episode 3. Had a great time over there. I also was on the Big Brother Canada roundtable. If you're watching Big Brother Canada, everything we said was irrelevant. But if you want to hear us talk, you can go enjoy it. Yeah, anything else I'm up to, definitely just follow me and you'll see it there. So thank y'all so much for sticking with us. Really appreciate it. We will be back next week. Make sure you go join the Facebook group. Put in the password, which is...
I forgot.
I know. Feet.
A water ski feet.
Water ski feet. Okay. So go join the Facebook group. Put in the password. Clearly, if you put in whatever, we might accept you.
Yeah, I never know.
But yes, thank y'all for sticking with us, and we will see y'all next week. Bye.